Afghan interpreter detained by ICE, betrayal of a U.S. ally. WBUR News. Imagine risking your life to help the U.S. military in a war-torn country, only to be detained by immigration authorities when you seek safety in the United States. This is the shocking reality for Zia S, a 35-year-old Afghan immigrant who was arrested by ICE after a routine appointment related to his pending green card application. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Zia's detention is not an isolated incident, and it has sparked widespread concern among former Afghan interpreters who fear that the U.S. government has abandoned its wartime allies. As we delve into the details of Zia's case, it becomes clear that his story is a testament to the complexities and controversies surrounding U.S. immigration policies. And this is the part that will leave you questioning the very fabric of our society. Zia's family, including his wife and 5 children, are now facing an uncertain future, and his brother, Tariq, is speaking out against the Trump administration's handling of his brother's case. But before we dive into the specifics, let's take a step back and understand the context. Zia, who worked as an interpreter for the U.S. military in Afghanistan from 2005 to 2009, fled the country with his family after the Taliban seized control in 2021. They spent 3 years in Pakistan before being granted permission to enter the United States, where they were paroled into the country and put on a path to citizenship. However, Zia's journey to safety was abruptly disrupted when he was detained by ICE agents after his appointment. His attorneys and brother claim that he would face significant risk of harm, or even death if deported back to Afghanistan, given his history as an interpreter for the U.S. military. The situation is further complicated by the fact that Zia's family has asked that his full name not be disclosed, due to concerns about Taliban retaliation against his relatives in Afghanistan. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that Zia's case is not just about one individual, but about the broader implications of U.S. immigration policies on those who have risked their lives to help American troops. At a virtual press conference, elected officials in Massachusetts and Connecticut slammed the Trump administration for what they describe as a betrayal of those who risked their lives and homes to help U.S. troops. Massachusetts Representative Bill Keating called Zia's detention inexcusable, stating that if the U.S. government does not uphold its promises to those who have helped the country, it will send a message that it doesn't matter if you play by the rules or risk your life to help the military. But here's the controversy. A senior official at the Department of Homeland Security claims that Zia is under investigation for a serious criminal allegation, although no evidence has been provided to support this claim. Zia's attorneys and brother maintain that he has done nothing wrong, and that the allegations are baseless. As the case continues to unfold, it raises important questions about the treatment of Afghan interpreters who have helped the U.S. military. Should the U.S. government be doing more to protect those who have risked their lives to help American troops? Is the current immigration system failing to provide adequate support and protection to these individuals? And what does this say about the values of our society, when we seemingly abandon those who have helped us in our time of need? These are the questions that we must grapple with, as we consider the fate of Zia and countless others like him. As Michael Nomcrane, Zia's attorney, so eloquently put it, here is a person who, like our service people, wrote a blank check to our country because he knew that working in that environment could cost him his life. It's time for us to take a closer look at our immigration policies and ask ourselves, are we truly living up to our promises to those who have helped us? Afghan translator detained by ICE, a story of betrayal and hope. In a shocking turn of events, an Afghan translator who bravely assisted the U.S. military, risking his life in the process, has been detained by massed Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) agents in Connecticut. This incident is yet another indication of the Trump administration's willingness to disregard legal agreements and promises made to allies in their relentless pursuit of an unprecedented immigration crackdown. The translator, identified only as Zia S, a 35-year-old husband and father of 5, was arrested and taken away in a van after a routine biometrics appointment for his green card in East Hartford, Connecticut. This was confirmed by his attorney, members of Congress, and human rights advocates. Zia had legally entered the U.S. in October 2024 through New York's JFK Airport with humanitarian parole and an approved special immigrant visa, SIV, a pathway to permanent residency for foreign nationals who have worked for the U.S. government or military. Zia had fled Afghanistan with his family after the Taliban takeover in 2021. His detention has sparked outrage, with Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut stating, "He actually worked and risked his life in Afghanistan to uphold the values and rights that are central to democracy." Zia is the third known Afghan ally who helped U.S. troops to have been seized by ICE since Trump returned to power. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has stated that Zia is under investigation for a serious criminal allegation. However, his attorney Lauren Peterson has expressed confusion over this, stating that Zia has no criminal history and was approved for humanitarian parole due to a direct threat from Afghanistan's Taliban rulers. If deported, Zia faces the risk of death. This incident raises questions about the Trump administration's treatment of Afghan allies who have risked their lives to help U.S. troops. It also highlights the administration's efforts to terminate temporary protected status, TPS, for multiple countries, including Afghanistan, despite ongoing unstable and dangerous conditions in those countries. Masked ICE agents detain former Afghan interpreter who helped U.S. military. A shocking incident has unfolded, raising serious questions about the treatment of those who aided the U.S. military. An Afghan interpreter, known only as Zia, was detained by masked ICE agents, sparking outrage and concern. Zia, a legal resident of the United States, was arrested after a routine appointment related to his green card application. He had selflessly worked as an interpreter for U.S. forces during the war in Afghanistan, risking his life to support American troops. Despite this, he was seized and taken out of state, leaving his family and supporters in distress. But here's where it gets controversial. The Department of Homeland Security alleges that Zia is under investigation for a serious criminal allegation. His attorney, Lauren Peterson, denies any criminal history and expresses confusion over the DHS statement. She highlights that Zia was granted humanitarian parole in 2024 due to direct threats from the Taliban, emphasizing his lack of criminal involvement. Humanitarian parole is a temporary measure, allowing individuals to stay in the U.S. for urgent humanitarian reasons. Over 70,000 Afghans have entered the country under this initiative, following the Taliban's takeover in 2021. However, the Trump administration's immigration crackdown has led to mass deportations and the reversal of temporary protected status for many, including Afghans. Senator Richard Blumenthal strongly condemns Zia's treatment, calling it a violation of basic decency. He emphasizes that Zia's work in Afghanistan upheld democratic values and rights. Representatives Johanna Hayes and Bill Keating have also pledged to fight for Zia's release, with a judge issuing a temporary stay to prevent his removal from the U.S. And this is the part most people miss: Zia's case is not isolated. Sean Vandiver, founder of #AfghanEvac, reveals that at least 2 other Afghans who worked for the U.S. military have been detained after entering the U.S. Vandiver's group and veterans organizations are advocating for their release, arguing that it's a matter of honor and trust. So, what do you think? Is this a fair treatment of those who risked their lives to support the U.S.? Should the U.S. government do more to protect and honor these individuals? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.